When you see one of those pop-ups show up, the first thing you should do is verify that you have your antivirus running. Most of the time, when you buy a computer or when you use your computer, most of the time, hopefully you have antivirus installed. And anytime you do go to a website where you could have a potential risk, your antivirus should alert you and immediately quarantine the file or stop anything from coming through. If you have a firewall, that works too. Generally what these sites do is they run a program like a JavaScript as soon as you click on the website and you go to it, and a pop-up will show up. It'll say something like Microsoft, there's been an issue with your browser, your computer, they've detected some type of virus, and it usually shows up with a bunch of nonsense, and then it gives you a phone number. Generally when you call the phone number, you'll talk to somebody. Usually you'll get somebody and they'll ask you what problem you're having. Generally they want information from you. They may even ask you to connect to them through different services they tell you to download, such as TeamViewer. And what that does, that allows you to give them remote access to your computer, which means all of your files. At that point, when you give them remote access to your computer, I mean, they can go in, change whatever they want, disable whatever they want, and basically hold you ransom, kind of like ransomware. Generally, before that happens, you know, if it's a serious issue, you wouldn't have to call a number that's soliciting you to let you know that there's an issue with your computer. Usually, when your antivirus software is running, there's going to be an icon in the system tray, usually in the lower right. It's going to let you know if it's running. I know a lot of times people get the antivirus on the computer when they first buy it, it runs out. Windows Defender is actually free through Microsoft. You can actually update that through your Windows Update, so that way you can kind of have some type of antivirus running on your computer at all times. However, it's not as good as something that's dedicated to that. It is a good program, but it's also good to have something a little bit stronger. So you have to be very careful when you're online. I mean, if you're get on every now and then and pay your bills and check a few emails, I mean, you can get, you know, basic antivirus. You don't have to worry about getting anything really strong. If you do work where you're doing sensitive data, I mean, there's all kinds of antivirus programs that help you with your connections, with firewalls, things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of reputable companies out there that do provide antivirus and internet monitoring software. So the best thing to do would be to see what fits your needs. The best thing to remember when you're online is that people are always trying to take your data. They're always trying to get your information. Whether it be your Netflix account, whether it be your PayPal, Cash App, anything. If you have, you know, if you're apprehensive or have second thoughts about a purchase, or if you're worried about it not being legitimate, you can always go to the website and inquire. You can go to contact us. You can contact the website and say, hey, you know, I was going to make this purchase, or I was going to do this, and give them the example that you know, you ran into. And generally they'll communicate with you and let you know whether it's legitimate or not. But definitely be diligent in guarding your information. Watch out for fake emails. Emails that look like they're from your banking institution. Make sure you check the email. I mean, even if you bank with Wells Fargo, there's people out there that will create websites and send you emails that look like they're wellsfargo.com. But if you hover your mouse over the hyperlink, the hyperlink will usually tell you where it goes to. So even if it says wellsfargo.com and you put your mouse over it, the hyperlink may say www.2. bunch of other stuff, .net/whatever. So at that point, you can definitely tell that, one, it's not from your bank. If you have second thoughts or you're curious, call your bank, verify. Same thing with cell phones, same thing with AT&T, T-Mobile. People are always out there trying to take your data. So we definitely want you or everybody to be diligent in protecting your data.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Mandy Cohen, Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. As we begin to venture out again, help protect your family and neighbors from COVID-19 by practicing your 3 W's. Wear a cloth face covering, wait 6 feet apart, wash your hands often, or use hand sanitizer. Wear, wait, wash. We're all in this together. Stay strong, North Carolina.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let
you go. Never gonna let
Hey guys, it's us, Melon,
Dakota.
and we're here with your pet information for the month. Dakota, why don't you tell people, they're always asking us what happens when we pick an animal up in the field. Tell them what we do from our officer's take as soon as we encounter the animal in the field.
So once we get into the field, if we're able to catch the animal that's at large, we will first scan it for a microchip. If it does have a microchip, then we try to make contact with the owner right then and there and take it home. However, if the owner isn't home, if the information hasn't been updated, or if the dog does not have a microchip, now Melinda's going to tell you what we do after that.
So we transport the animals to the Durham County Animal Shelter, APS of Durham, located at 2117 East Club Boulevard. We keep them there for 5 working days. Now, of course, if there is microchip information, the shelter will continue to try to make owner contact. And if there is not, then the shelter will continue to take care of the animal, and that gives the owner 5 working days to come to the shelter and locate their lost pet. If the animal is not reclaimed by the end of the 5 days, then the animal becomes property of the Durham County Animal Shelter, and they begin the process for evaluation for adoption. So this little guy, for example, Milo, is currently available for adoption. Now, if you're interested in a dog that is for adoption, what you should know is due to the COVID protocols, they're updating now starting this Monday. They are going to be allowing up to 10 people into the animal shelter at a time. If you've lost your pet, you can come to the shelter and look for your pet at that time. If you're just interested in adoption, you can walk through, locate an animal you're interested in adopting, and then fill out an application on the spot. These animals are then vetted. They're given behavioral assessments to determine if they will be compatible with your home, and then you'll start their process through there. Now, if you're not quite interested in committing to a full-out adoption, there's always the foster option. You can go to APS's website at apsofdurham.org and fill out an application for foster, and then they will contact you and tell you what you'll need to do to foster, and then they will match you up with an animal that you can foster until we can find a more permanent home. Now, we love the failed fosters. Those are the people that sign up to foster and then they fall in love and end up adopting. So if you're interested in adoption, make sure you come to the shelters. They will be open their regular hours. Again, only 10 people will be allowed in at a time, and please bring a mask when you come. So now, hopefully that answers your questions. What happens when we pick up animals? Of course, our first option, try to reunite them with the owner. And then second option, try to rehome them with a new owner if we can't get them placed back to their original owners and they don't come for them.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs.
You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
The writ of possession is at the very end. All of this starts with one, in the case of rent not being paid, the rent isn't paid. There's some communications going between the landlord and the tenant about, hey, where's my rent? And then you get this notice to vacate. And then once you don't vacate, the landlord can go and file a summary ejectment proceeding, which is another way of saying filing a court case against you, saying you owe me this money, you have not paid your rent, I want you evicted out of my property. And usually that's going to be in small claims court before a magistrate.
Well, your rent notice is basically a magistrate summons with a complaint and summary ejectment attached to it. That comes from the clerk's office to the sheriff's office, and what that is basically the notification for the hearing for the landlord to start the procedure to get their property back. We'll receive those from the clerk's office. The deputies will take those, and they will attempt to make contact with the defendant or defendants that's listed on the magistrate summons. If we can't make contact, we will post, as statute allows, for the court date. And once that is returned, they have been served for their court date. Once we've served it, they'll have to call the court. If they don't understand something about it, that would fall more under calling the clerk's office to find out if there's any discrepancy about the court date or if there's any problem that they may have with the court date. They would need to contact the clerk's office because we're actually just serving notice of the court date.
That's the first part where we're involved. Only thing we're doing is serving the paperwork just like any other lawsuit. Then you go before the magistrate, the landlord presents evidence, you can present evidence, or the renter can present evidence, a decision is entered. You have a right to appeal that decision to the district court. If you appeal it, there's some procedures involved with that. And then if you lose that appeal, or if you don't appeal it or contest it, what you're going to have is a judgment being entered against you. And that's when the writ of possession comes involved.
Once the sheriff's office receives the writ of possession for real property, the first thing that's done is a notification will be sent out of the date of the eviction to the defendant or the defendants. Second thing we do is we're going to notify the plaintiff of the date and time that we'll be out there to facilitate the padlock. Once the deputy arrives on scene, the property will be taken from the defendant, turned over to the plaintiff. The defendant will be served the paperwork if they're there, but we're there to take custody of the property from the defendant and turn it back over to the plaintiff as the court has ordered.
Really, the legal process is the entire court case before writ of possession is requested by a landlord and delivered to the sheriff for execution. Writ of possession is basically carrying out the judgment of a court. Just like if you were sued for a motor vehicle accident or some other small claims proceeding, when the judge enters a decision, it becomes a judgment, and then you go collect on the judgment. And then once it is issued by the clerk of court, it's delivered to the sheriff for execution. The reason why the sheriff's office is involved is because when someone is moved out of their property, it's a very tense situation, and the sheriff is involved to make sure that it's a peaceful transfer of property.
As in all civil process, the sheriff's office is just enforcing the court order. The court order is that the plaintiff is to receive their property back. The deputy will go out there, the property will be taken out of the defendant's possession, placed back with the plaintiff as the court has ordered, and we're there to also make sure that that's a peaceful transition during that process.
But the law requires the sheriff to do this, and in fact, if the sheriff doesn't do it, he could be sued. So you should really take some steps right at the beginning of all of this when you first have difficulty with paying your rent. Because when it gets to the sheriff's office, it's too late. So what can you do? In several communities throughout the state of North Carolina, including Durham, there are rent assistance programs. North Carolina, along with the United Way, has developed what's called NC 211. If you pick up the phone and dial 211, you're connected to a resource hotline, and you can tell them what your problems are, whether it's paying rent, paying your mortgage, making utility payments, need of food, and they can connect you with resources in your community. Here in Durham, you have the legal clinic at North Carolina Central. You may also have law clinics over at UNC, Duke, over in Raleigh at Campbell, where you can get some free legal advice. You have Legal Aid of North Carolina, but if you go to their website, they have literature on there on what the eviction process is, what is a summary ejectment, what you should present to court. Can you get out of it? Can you pay your rent? Can you settle this? What to do if you want to get into a settlement. Here at the sheriff's office, we know about the process, but we can't give you legal advice. State government is well aware of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on individuals, and so there's some relief efforts being made. And so really what I'm saying is that the solution to a lot of this is before you get to the writ of possession. There are community organizations out there that will help you with rent assistance. The General Assembly, which is our state legislature, is looking at some solutions. Our local officials may be looking at some solutions. Churches may be available. So when you get into that situation of not being able to pay your rent, making utility payments, not being able to put food on your table, oftentimes we panic, we become concerned, and that is the moment where you don't close yourself in. That's when you need to go ahead and ask for the help that may be out there. Because if you act quickly and at the beginning of the process, you won't get into the court system and you wind up staying in your home. Because by the time it gets to the sheriff's office with the writ of possession, there's not much, if anything, that can be done, and our hands are tied.
Each year, there are more than a dozen significant tropical and winter storms that threaten the East Coast. So chances are there will be more hurricanes and blizzards near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
When an emergency strikes in Durham County, will you know what to do? Receive critical, time-sensitive information straight to your device with Alert Durham.
Alert Durham provides you with critical information quickly for incidents like severe weather, hazardous materials, evacuations, and more. You can even choose the type of alerts you want to receive and how you want to receive them. Just go to alertdurham.com to register quickly and easily. Stay alert, stay informed, stay safe with Alert Durham.
What we're still seeing is a lot of the family members calling, supposed family members calling, saying that they're in some kind of legal trouble or that they have caused somebody to go into a hospital and they need to pay a bill, something like that. And they're feeling rushed to send money instead of being able to contact that family member and see if this is actual, true, or accurate. We're also seeing the Publishers Clearinghouse scams. Hey, listen, you're going to need to pay taxes on this money in order to get it. Or, hey, you've won a grant, and in order to get the money to you, you're going to have to pay A, B, or C. In doing so, these people are getting conned out of thousands of dollars, and they're not understanding that Publishers Clearinghouse is not going to give you money unless you invest into their program. Grants aren't going to come to you if you don't apply for grants, especially you'll see people saying that you won a government grant. Not a thing. So I think you just need to be more understanding and more aware of these phone calls that you're getting, especially when it's not something that you initiated. What I've always done and I always told people is just ignore the phone call, send it to voicemail. If it's important, they'll leave a voicemail. If it's somebody that needs to get in touch with you, they'll have another avenue to get in touch with you. Everybody always has additional contacts or another person that they could reach out to you by. They can do it that way if it's an emergency, or otherwise send you a text message, leave you a voicemail, things like that. Gives you time to research what it is. Not only that, but to verify that, you know, this is a correct phone number for the person that you think it is. If it's some sort of banking institution, credit card company, always follow up with the customer service lines there. You can find their number on the back of your cards. You can always find their number on their actual internet sites. Make sure that it is a secured site that you're looking at to verify. People can come up with many different ploys, send you different emails or something like that. And the emails may look a little off. The language may be a little off. The logos may look a little fuzzy or not quite right. That I would call customer service, the number that is actually listed on your card, not the number that's listed in the email, not the number that is listed on the phone call, but the actual customer service number listed on the card or their actual website, and call and verify whatever the issue may be. A lot of people are ghosting numbers, are internet-based numbers, and it is extremely hard to track. That being said, if you don't know these people, if you don't do business with this particular company, really and truly, there's no need to return phone calls. There's no need to get sucked into it. And if you always have questions, you can always call the sheriff's office. If it seems a little wonky to you, we're more than happy to verify stuff.
Durham County Sheriff's Office, where's your emergency? Okay, we'll get deputies on the way. Order! Move!
I'm Durham County Sheriff Clarence Burkhead, and we want you to join our team. Honor, duty, service. If you have what it takes, our recruiting starts now.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room, you don't go to a clinic. You get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.